What's up, my dudes? All right, we're going to be taking a look at the new Seattle DLC track on Supercross 4. Here we have another one of those bizarre, super small scaling. I just don't know, man. Both of these DLC tracks. So this Indianapolis one right here, this one came with the 252 stroke DLC pack, which is super bizarre. I don't know why they're just throwing in these tracks that should have already been in the game with the two strokes that should have already been in the game. It's super weird, but either way. So they're both kind of the same sort of vibe. They feel like tracks that don't even belong in this game at all. They're somewhere along the lines of like 0.8 to 1 scaling or something. I don't know. If you ride on any of the other stock tracks in the game, you're going to hop on these and it's going to feel like, these tracks are made for like an 85 or something. Like, I don't even know what. But, so this one right here is the one that comes with the 125 two-stroke pack. And in a nutshell, it's basically just the same kind of thing where, okay, so with both of these little DLC tracks that Milestone has brought out here with Supercross 4 so far, both of them kind of have this vibe of where it feels like the rhythm sections feel more like a whoop section, right? And the main Supercross triples feel more like a rhythm section. You see what I'm saying? And then the whoops just feel more like rollers. So that's kind of the difference, if you're trying to like compare it to all of the normal stock tracks in the game, you definitely get that vibe of like with both of these smaller scaling DLC tracks that the rhythm sections feel more like whoops and the whoops feel more like rollers and the main Supercross triples feel more like just rhythm section jumps, right? I know specifically on that Indianapolis, that other DLC track, good Lord, that main Supercross triple on that track felt like nothing, dog. It felt super small. So I don't really know, like, why Milestone is doing this per se. I don't know why now we've got two of their different DLC tracks that are kind of this bizarre, weird, like different sort of entirely different sort of scaling than the standard default, tracks in the game. I don't know why they're doing that. I have no idea. I don't know what the real goal is behind that, but I just want to make it clear that this track is no different. These tracks are, just coming in here, I could just see how it would be fun to come in here and multiplayer just for the silly purposeness of it, just because the jumps are so small and the scaling so small, and everybody's going to be pretty much never crashing on anything. So you'd probably have a lot tighter multiplayer racing on tracks like this than you would on some of the like more complicated, bigger rhythm tracks on some of the other default tracks in the game, right? But it's just weird how they're doing this, how they're just kind of throwing it in there in the two-stroke DLC packs. Like, I don't understand why don't they just make like a like a track pack that has all these different tracks that they're going to come out with as paid DLC. I'm just kind of confused at why they're doing it this way. It's almost like these tracks should have just been in there, and they're like, oh shit, I guess we'll just throw it in there with the two-stroke DLCs, right? Try to get people to buy those two-stroke DLCs just a little bit more. It's kind of what it seems like to me. That's crazy how you can jump like that entire part of the start of that rhythm right there. You'd never be able to do that typically on a track in this game, but since these jumps are so small, you can actually do some weird type rhythms on this track. But other than that, I mean, the berms seem to be decent size. The finish line's small as well, but the berms seem to be decent size. Yeah, the scaling's a little bit more narrow, but when it comes to the actual jump sizes themselves, that's where it's just like not even comparable to the default Supercross tracks in this game. These are just like, I don't know. They're just a whole different kind of thing. So either way, not much to really talk about, I guess, here with these tracks because there's just not much to them. There's not much special anything to them really. But what I wanted to kind of talk about in this video, what I wanted this video to segue into is I wanted to, let me get on the mud version of this track so we can just go in there and see how that is real quick. God dang, boy, got to take a little tea break. All right, here we are on the mud version of this track. And one thing I really wanted to talk about here, and I've been talking about this forever now, but I think it's really important to talk about this now that Milestone's starting to come out with this random track, DLC content for their game. I just don't understand why they don't have a system in place to where it can carry over all of the different previous track content from the, like Supercross 1, 2, and 3 to Supercross 4. I have no idea why they have not put some sort of something in there that can allow it to do that. With their games already having such low amount of content as it is anyways, the one free ride compound in each of their Supercross games. Whoops, the first Supercross game didn't even have a free ride compound before paid DLC, but, I digress here. But you know what I'm saying? It's just, it don't make any sense as to why they couldn't have some sort of cool, relive the previous, Supercross years of track content so you could go in there and ride on all the different Supercross tracks from the first, second, and third Supercross games, but with the new Milestone Supercross games physics system, that would add so much more content to their games if they did that. Certainly at this point, now that we're on Supercross 4, could you imagine having, 4 different years worth of a Supercross championship to ride on in one individual game? That would be so much fun in multiplayer and with having the more air physics that, Supercross 4 has, it'd be a lot of fun to test that out on some of like the Supercross 1 tracks and Supercross 2 tracks and stuff like that. I just think they're missing out so much because they've already put the work in to make all those different tracks and track content, and you can't honestly sit here and tell me that it would be that hard to integrate it in there to where you could ride on all those older tracks in the newer Milestone Supercross game. Like, yeah, it may take a little bit of clever work to get it, those older tracks to work in whatever new game engine they're using in the new Milestone game or whatnot, but like these games are so similar as it is anyways. It's not like, oh my God, trying to bring a MX versus ATV Unleash track into Reflex and making it work or something like that. That would be a lot more difficult than trying to bring like a Supercross 1 track into Supercross 2, 3, or 4, right? It's nowhere even near as hard as it would be in a bunch of other motocross games because of Milestone making their games so similar and working with very similar game engines throughout their games and stuff like that. But I would just love to have all the different free ride track content. It'd be so cool to be able to go in there with the Supercross 4's physics and ride on the Supercross 3 free ride compound with all those different individual training Supercross tracks. And, it would just give the game so much more life to them content-wise if Milestone did that. So that's one thing I am hoping and praying that Milestone does in the near future versus just, giving us these little crumbs of tracks, as paid DLC like they're doing right now. It's just these little pieces, these little crumbs in comparison to what it could be. And I feel like that's where games like MX Simulator and MX Bikes and stuff like that is completely blowing these arcade motocross games out of the water because they do keep all of the track content that they've had from day one, right? You can still this day go in there and ride on MX Simulator tracks that were made back in 2007, dog. Back when Ricky Carmichael was still racing Supercross, okay? You can still go back and ride on tracks that were made back then in that game. So it's kind of laughable when you get to these Milestone Supercross games and it's just like they don't carry over anything. content-wise. They don't carry over any track content. They don't carry... It's like such a waste of resources, such a waste of time doing that. Not carrying it over. It just seems like such a wasted effort, the fact that they don't do that. And then every milestone game they come out with just has one free ride compound on it, when in reality at this point we could have like 4 in each of the games without them having to actually make any more free ride compounds, just carrying over the ones that we had in the previous games. I feel like this is a must. It's a must-do kind of thing for Milestone in the future, not only Supercross games, but also MXGP games. I don't know why they don't carry over the tracks in those games too, and the free ride compounds in those games. Yeah, you're going to have to do a little bit of work to like make it all graphically fit in the new engine or whatever, but it can't be that hard, dog. It can't be. So either way, yep, this is pretty much the same run-of-the-mill, same kind of thing as the track that came in the 252-stroke DLC. Nothing really special. Track that was made for a Super Mini. So certainly compared to the other Supercross tracks in the game, these kind of tracks are going to make you scratch your head a little bit. It's going to be like, was that a rhythm section jump, or was that whoops, or was that a main Supercross triple, or just a 3-in on a standard rhythm? Like, what was it? Was that actually a whoop section, or was that just a roller section? Was that just a little bit of roughness, or was that actual whoops, right? It's kind of the vibe you get on these tracks here, but either way, man, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.